Welcome back to Alpha Recap, your quick, no-nonsense wrap of the trading day. Markets were closed for the day and we're unpacking what moved the tape and why it matters. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai.
Thanks for having me. Plenty to dig into from today. A pretty fragmented session with a few clear themes that stood out.
Let's start high level. The headline was that optical infrastructure names led the tape in relative strength, while a few very idiosyncratic stories, Copart and a Walmart read, grabbed headlines. And oil moved on ceasefire chatter. Pretty patchy.
Exactly. So, what really stands out here is that the strength in those optics names looked structural, not just momentum chasing.
Walk me through that. Why did optical interconnect stocks show leadership when there wasn't a single big headline?
I mean, when you step back and look at this, large-scale AI workloads multiply internal data center traffic. That raised demand for higher bandwidth links. Think 400 gig and 800 gig and beyond. And put optics, silicon photonics, and platform vendors on the front line of upgrades.
Which companies did we see benefit most of all?
Companies like Applied Optoelectronics, Coherent, Marvell, and Poet Technologies showed outsized relative strength. Marvell is being talked about as more of a platform-level supplier, link layer and switching silicon, while Applied and Coherent are more component-focused, and Poet leans into silicon photonics IP and manufacturing.
Right. And the other thing is, this didn't look like a one-off headline move. Analysts were highlighting relative strength leadership even without earnings or M&A news.
Yeah, that tracks. The pattern suggests institutional rotation into AI and data center infrastructure, which could be more durable if demand keeps rising for those higher capacity interconnects.
Switching gears, Copart was down after reports of a drop in volume from insurance customers. Tell us why that mattered so much to the stock.
Copart's business is sensitive to salvage vehicle flow coming from insurance adjudications. If insurance-related volume drops, auction throughput falls, revenue and margins can compress quickly. That concentration of customer exposure makes the business vulnerable to idiosyncratic shocks.
Oof, that's the kind of company-specific news that can create outsized moves.
Exactly. Analysts flagged it as a near-term growth risk until the company either confirmed the data or put out clarifying disclosures.
And then there was the Walmart read that some analysts described as a warning bell, the likes of which haven't been seen since 2008. That's a big phrase to drop.
Honestly, I was a bit surprised by this one. If Walmart's internals are signaling broad consumer stress, that would be a macro-level warning. But the summary lacked granular indicators, so there's a big question of whether this is a true bellwether signal or a sector-specific blip.
So how should listeners parse that? Alarm or cautionary note?
Treat it as an alert, not a fait accompli. Some participants will take it as a leading signal. Others will wait for corroboration from weekly card spending, retail sales, and credit metrics. We need independent data to move from concern to conviction.
Short reactions. Right.
Wow, okay.
On commodities. Oil moved lower intraday on headlines negotiators were discussing a potential 45-day ceasefire. But Goldman Sachs put out a framework reminding traders to separate price moves from physical market tightness.
Right. Goldman's framework looked at three things: product supplies, price response mechanics, and anecdotal checks. In plain terms, inventories and flows, how prices react to shocks, and on-the-ground reports like shipping and refinery behavior. That helps decide whether today's price move was temporary or fundamental.
So the takeaway was caution. Don't assume the price move fully reflected physical balance improvement.
Correct. Traders who leaned only on the ceasefire headline saw immediate relief. Analysts focused on product stocks and utilization may have stayed cautious. That creates tactical uncertainty for energy portfolios.
We also had a wave of corporate filings, several 8Ks with governance and financing items. A lot of that can fly under the radar until it moves a stock.
Exactly. Oracle disclosed director and officer changes and compensation arrangements. Aptiv, MKS, and others posted leadership and comp changes. Smaller companies posted material agreements and financing disclosures. These kinds of items can presage bigger strategic moves or change capital structure, so they matter.
If listeners want to dig in, read the exhibits on the 8Ks. They often contain the details the market reacts to.
Right. Read the filings directly. They include the specifics, dates, terms, and sometimes the exact language that drives market repricing.
Let's make this practical. How did these themes translate to different investor types?
Active traders and momentum managers saw tradable patterns in optical names. watch volume confirmation and block trades to see if institutional flows continue. Event-driven traders could follow Copart and Walmart for short-term setups, but they need company disclosures for confirmation.
Long-term growth investors?
For long-term players, the structural demand story for higher bandwidth optics tied to AI is worth monitoring, but valuation dispersion is wide. Platform versus pure play differentiation matters for earnings durability. So Marvell versus component-centric firms is a meaningful distinction.
Income and credit-focused listeners?
Bell Canada renewed its medium-term notes program, which maintains funding flexibility. But some 8Ks signaled financing moves that could affect credit profiles. Fixed income investors should check issuance terms and maturity schedules when new notes are priced.
And risk-conscious investors? What did you want them to watch?
Verify consumer data prints before shifting big allocations based on the Walmart read. Keep an eye on retail sales, payrolls, and credit spreads. For Copart, look for company commentary about insurance-sourced volumes and used vehicle pricing trends.
Quick pause for reality check.
Yeah, absolutely.
Strategic watch list items. Give us the bullet list.
Watch order flows and institutional block trades in optical names to see if today was the start of a rotation or a short covering leg. Monitor earnings and guidance from platform suppliers like Marvell. For Copart, look for confirmation on insurance volumes. Validate the Walmart signal with independent consumer metrics. And for oil, track product inventories, refinery utilization, and shipping anecdotes alongside prices.
Anything else listeners should be mindful of?
Be mindful of corporate event risk. The pile of 8K filings today, governance, compensation, financing, are the kinds of disclosures that can drive sudden repricing, especially in smaller names.
Final takeaways quickly.
1. We saw a likely structural rotation into AI and data center optics, signaled by leadership in optical interconnect names. 2. Idiosyncratic corporate risks popped up. Copart's insurance volume shortfall and the Walmart warning deserve verification before being treated as macro signals. 3. Oil moved on ceasefire chatter, but Goldman's framework urged triangulation across inventories, price responses, and anecdotes before concluding the market was materially looser. And 4. Read the 8K exhibits. They matter.
Quick reaction segment. Right.
Okay, good coverage.
Important reminder. This discussion was informational only. We didn't recommend buying, selling, or holding any specific security, and none of this is personalized investment advice. Analysts note trends, data, and momentum, and listeners should consult their own advisors and company filings when making decisions.
Sentiment labels reflect market analysis, not advice. Confirmatory data matters. Custody flows into optics, company disclosures, inventory metrics for energy, and the 8K exhibits we mentioned.
That wraps today's Alpha Recap. If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai.
Thanks for listening. We'll be watching the follow-up data and filings, and we'll bring you updates next time.
See you tomorrow. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and head to stockalpha.ai if something stuck with you.